Hello, welcome to Life After 3D. It's been a while. In fact, the last video I did was in February, 8 months ago. So why the big gap? Simple version, life got complicated. There wasn't a lot of different things to talk about. And as I've covered before, I didn't really like that I was being pushed into this commentating on AI development rabbit hole. It was just, this is not a way to make friends. It's a 50-50 split. Some people really hate it, some people really love it, right? So that's the way that part went. Also, there wasn't a lot of changes. I'm still teaching for the University of Hertfordshire. I'm teaching a Masters in Game Art and Design. We had a lot of marking in the last educational year at the end, and a lot of work. I was pulling quite a few hours. There wasn't really the time to do these. There was also some real life things happening, which we'll cover later on. You'll notice that things look a bit different where I'm at, just because we moved the entire room around. Because everything when we moved in 6 years ago was sort of put where it was put, because I was in charge of this bit, this end of the move, and my wife was in charge of the old house. And it meant I was sitting next to the window, so I was here, the window was right next to me. So it was too warm in the summer, and it was absolutely freezing cold in the winter, because although there was a radiator there, the heat just got sucked straight out the window, right? And I'd had enough of that. I'm getting older. I'm 53. I really don't want to be any more cool than I have to be. So we decided to move the room around. Now, this meant that I created an entire 3D model of everything, and I do mean everything in this room. Just low, medium res models, but the size was correct to the millimeter, which meant I could try loads of different combinations of moving the room around before anybody moved anything. Right, which is really important, and also test out what was the lighting going to look like, especially in this new rig. You'll notice I've now got LED lights behind the monitors, under the tables. There's one over there that I've just realized I forgot to switch on. So, imagine there's one just below the lamp there behind there, which has made life a lot easier. I'm not trapped in a corner. I'm not cool or too warm anymore. I can do good work. I finally got around to upgrading. Well, I'll say upgrading, it was still there. I've been using an old webcam for years, and I mean one that's about 15 years old, and it was starting to show its age somewhat, especially when I'm doing Zoom meetings, most of the days of the week with students. So I thought, well, why am I doing that? Let's just use the H4n that I've got back there. It's a wonderful camera. It has good audio, so I don't need the big microphone hanging around on its arm. It optimizes things a bit. So what else went on in my life? I'm a granddad. You will have noticed for the previous video, I'm recording this on Halloween, but I'll probably hold it back for a little while because I put a lot of work into that. My granddaughter, Alicia Grace Robson, was born yesterday at 3:33 a.m. I had to work that morning, and I'm going to be honest. There was about 1% of my brain was working correctly. 99% was on the new baby. So I apologise to the students that were there, because it was only a couple hours of work. And I realised I'm supposed to be working today. People up my head's up its arse, right? This was my first grandchild, and the genetic pull is quite astounding. Because I'd got a phone call the night before from my son going, look, Pippa's waters broke. This could be it. So I had to organise getting them to the hospital, because as luck would have it, my wife is away, and I told them normally I keep my phone off during the night. All right, it's what I've always done, but I said, look, I'll keep it on. I didn't sleep a whole lot that night, and as luck would have it, I fell asleep at about 3:25. The baby was born at 3:33 a.m. So I woke up the next morning. I didn't have my glasses on, so I'm waking up like this, and I can't really see, and I've got the phone here, and I see a text from Kane. I'm like, that's my son, by the way. I'm like, pretty sure that says the baby's been born. So I raced out of bed and jumped out of bed like I haven't done since I was 10-year-old, which is amazing given my arthritis. Immediately put my glasses on. I'm standing there in my boxer shorts, and there was a text message from Kane telling me everything and some photographs, and it was without doubt the nicest way I've ever been woken up in my life. The trouble is, I'd been talking to a few guys, older guys in the 70s, in a pub I go into, a fountain, going back months, and they were asking, I said, oh, have you been a granddad before? Because I was telling them about, obviously, knew about the pregnancy, it was all planned and stuff. And I'm like, no, it was the first one. They're like, oh, you remember when you became a dad? I'm like, oh yeah, I remember very well. And he's like, you know how the moment you cut that cord, the weight of the responsibility came slamming down on your shoulders, and it was one of the best moments of your life. I'm like, yeah. He says, this is just as much of a change, even though it's you as a granddad. And I'm like, in a good way or a bad way? He said, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to wait to find out. Well, what I found is the genetic pull was astounding. And I do mean, I bounced off the walls all day. I was counting down the minutes till I got to see my granddaughter in the hospital, because the visiting wasn't until 6 till 8 p.m. And I was awake at about 9 o'clock in the morning, so I had a long time to bounce off the fucking walls like a fraggle. Really excited. I'm the only person in the house. My daughter's at her mum's, my wife was in London, and I'm here on my own. There's nobody to talk to, and I'm just bouncing off the fucking walls like a fraggle. And I did get to see my granddaughter last night. I want to be careful what I say, because if I get too deep in it, I will dissolve into tears of happiness, right? I don't care if anybody thinks that's unmanly. I couldn't give a flying shit, right? So I'm at the hospital. I'll probably put some photographs up, because I'm allowed to. I've been clear to put some photographs of the baby up. And I fell in love with her instantly. And what I found really interesting was, you know, my son, he was very ill when he was a kid, and he was crying 20 hours a day. And it was really hard to get him to stop crying. So obviously, baby Alicia, it's like, she's less than 24 hours old. Everything's really new, you know, and she's really not, like, impressed about things. And so she's crying a lot. And I said to Kim, I'll tell you what, do you mind if I pick her up? So I picked her up. Inside of 3 seconds, she went silent. So calmed her down, put her to sleep, put her down again. Started crying again. Every time I pick her up, I can calm her down inside of about 5 seconds. I don't understand why. Is it some genetic thing? I don't get it. But all I know is it is one of the happiest moments of my life. And it's nothing to do with 3D. It's nothing to do with anything else. It's just, it's a weird feeling, right? Because when you have kids, you sort of realize that you've helped to make this child or children. Then when one of those children helps to create another life, I can't put it into words. It's a very weird feeling, but a good feeling. And I totally get where my dad came from, because I phoned my dad up yesterday, because he's now a great granddad. It's the one thing he wanted to make sure he was still around for that, and he has. And he had an operation, serious operation earlier this year, removed some metal work from his spine. He had about 5 screw holes left in things. He had no less than 3 falls down the stairs and 1 off the sofa. Any one of them would have killed a normal man, but it appears my dad's a Terminator. Somehow, and he's still alive. But he's weaker, but he's doing all right, and he's over the moon. And we were talking about it on the phone last night. And I said, is this how you felt? He said, yeah. Yeah, exactly the same. And I said, so what's it like when you get to be a great granddad then? And he came up with the best response ever. He says, well, you're just going to have to wait and see, aren't you? Which I thought was fantastic and classic for my dad. Bluebeard production-wise has been a bit of a hiatus. A lot of that was down to a lot of complicated stuff to do with the pregnancy, because it was an emergency. We didn't know it was going to be an emergency C-section because the placenta had separated, and it was a life or death situation. I won't go into too many details, you know, that's Pippa's privacy. But there was a lot of complications going through the pregnancy. I was also working a lot of hours. I did film something for a documentary at the start of the year. Well, I'm saying start of the year, about March-ish. But I haven't had the chance to edit any of that stuff. One of the problems was I had a 3-camera setup. I always check the focus like I have in these at the moment. I've got 2 cameras running. I've got the C100 Mark II there, I've got the GH5 there, right? Both check the focus before I set away. I always have the focus right and the exposure. So imagine my amazement when I checked the footage in Resolve, and there's a point where literally I sit down, right? It's not on my auto focus, all manual focus locked in. And this was filmed at my dad's house because he used to have him and a friend of his had a company called Doing Brewery. It wasn't a microbrewery, it was a proper full-on brewery, right? And I wanted to get his side of the story before he's no longer here, right? But anyway, I checked the footage, and only one camera stayed in focus. The other one, it was like an invisible hand just went zip, and put them both out of focus at the same time. Now the plan has been to do one of two things. As one of the cameras was the one on me, and the other one was a long shot, to simply get my dad to sit there in the same clothes. I'll go through the questions and I've got the cuts I need. Or probably the path of least resistance, which is just refilm the whole bloody thing, which is probably what will end up happening at the moment. So yeah, life's been all over the place, and I'm in a good place. I've been spending the last year learning jazz guitar, although I didn't have a lot of progress. I'll tell you why. I always try to find the easy way, the tricks, right? So I wasted about 10 months looking at different tricks and easy ways of playing jazz. Shocker, there isn't one, right? There are ways to make it simpler, right? And things you can do that, like, oh, that's quite cool. But the only way to really learn it is to go right from the start and learn properly, which is what I've been doing. Which is why for the version of Summertime that I did for Alicia, that took a long time to put together. It's while the initial intro of just solo chordal guitar, that is planned. 80% of it, there's 20% of improvisation there. The bit with the full backing, the smooth jazz stuff, that's all improvised. I'm thinking off the top of my head. Is it perfect? No, but it was all done in one take, and it was done from the heart for my granddaughter. So I'm going to wind it up because I've run out of things to say, and I'm sure you're sort of sick of the sight of me by now. Well, maybe you're not, because it's been 8 months, hasn't it? You know. Normally I'd have my beard dyed recently before I do these, but it actually needs done tomorrow. So apologies for the blue beard not being quite as blue. There's another thing of note that I've had this blue beard for 2 years now, and a lot of people around my hometown now give me a nickname. Bluebeard. Inventive. But also quite cool because I'll think, well, can I get away with that if I'm, you know, because you always got guitarists that have a nickname, right? Like Muddy Waters. I'm thinking, I wonder if I can get away with calling myself Bluebeard Robson. I don't know. Answers on a postcard or down in the towel section down there. Right, I'm going to get going. I've got a bit of housework to do to make sure the place is clean and tidy before my wife gets back. For make sure I get plenty of husband points, you know. I'm going to try and see if we can get down to the hospital to see baby Alicia again, because my wife hasn't met the baby yet and really wants to. So it's going to be a full-on couple of days. But luckily I've not got any work now until next week. So I've got the weekend to try and sort things out, get my head together, try and get my head so it's not just on baby stuff, right? And we'll see, right? So I don't know how often I'm going to do these. I try to do them when there's something of note. But yeah, anyway, so bye-bye. See you all next time.